nitrous and boost. When are we putting the turbo on?
Yeah, we don't have that stuff. I don't know what I'm doing. I just know I'm gonna do it.
All right, Dad's been doing a bunch of work to this AMC Hornet. So I edited video. He was taking a bunch of it on his own, and then I was over there to help him a couple of times over the last probably 6 weeks or so. A lot of different things happened. I made 2 different videos. One of them is more focused on fuel injection and air conditioning. The other video is more focused on drivetrain, so transmission and rear axle. So there are a little like some overlap stuff on this, but some good content. I thought it was pretty neat. Dad has a lot of good details on what he found with this AMC motor, crossing a lot of the old 70s stuff over to a lot of the newer 4-liter Jeep stuff. So I hope you guys like it. Just different car content, which is basically what this channel is about, is sort of motorsports and things that are related to it, like building the shop and that. Anyways, let's get to it.
Let me introduce you to Buddy. He is a 1973 American Motors Hornet 4-door sedan that I got off of eBay for 900 bucks. He hadn't run or moved since 1989. Didn't have any brakes. Had to replace everything. The paint was just totally buried in dirt. But I cleaned him all up 2021. He's a great running little car. Drive him all the time. He's got a 6-cylinder in him that is pretty much all original. The stuff that's been painted here, I've had off the engine, so I've had the intake off and I've had the valve cover off looking at stuff, and I've done all the usual tune-up things. The other thing we did was his front seats were totally trashed and destroyed. So what I did was I got the seats reupholstered in the original houndstooth, and I put new carpet in them, so he's looking all nice and really good now. Projects happening right now is I've got a Holley Sniper fuel injection set up for him. So he gets an upgrade from a 1-barrel carb there to a 2-barrel with the Sniper fuel injection. So I'm gonna start tearing him apart and doing that, but right now I've got to do a car shuffle and move all 4 cars around. Figured I better take a video here of the intake and exhaust, carburetor, as I'm taking them off. I have one more bolt and this whole thing's gonna come off of here. The exhaust is disconnected down there, so we're gonna see how the new stuff fits in here. There's some belt adapters and bolts up here that this one doesn't have, and the new intake is aluminum, not cast iron. Here's the old exhaust manifold and intake. Let me get this all on there and let's see how this wrestling match goes. I have no clue if the exhaust is going to line up or if I'm going to have to tweak something or what, but let's just see. Because all the AMC forum says the stuff fits with minor modifications. I just don't know what the minor modifications are. So we'll be figuring that out together. Need to put a couple studs in the exhaust manifold. Probably would have been smarter doing that before I put it on there. The 1980s style AMC inline 6 exhaust manifold bolts right in as a replacement for the 1974 258. The same exact fit. The exhaust manifold goes in there, the exhaust pipe goes up, everything goes the same. I have the intake gasket on there. Now I'm going to try setting the intake. Bolt pattern's the same, gaskets are the same. I don't know what I'm doing. I just know I'm going to do it. It's going to fall. It's going to fall. Yep, there, it fell. Scratched the paint on my bolt, darn it.
Hi, bud. See, I get new things.
So you're getting recorded right now.
But he can cut it out.
Maybe, maybe not. All right, there you go. I have got the intake and exhaust manifold off of a 1980s Eagle inline 6 onto my 1974 258-6 in Buddy the Hornet. So the exhaust and the intake manifolds do bolt on. You have to use the shorter bolts because these flanges are thinner on the newer intake and exhaust. But other than that, I mean, I gained a 2-barrel carburetor instead of a 1-barrel and an aluminum intake. I have the place to put the O2 sensor and the new exhaust manifold, which is handy. This physical part of the install is sorted out, but I got the pink wire for the power start, and I've got the relays and the fuses mounted up there. The last thing I have to do is connect the power to the Sniper, and then the system should light up for me. All right, so this is going to be Buddy's first Sniper fuel injection hold start. Okay, so there goes the fuel pump. I can hear that. Here comes the Holley device. Now let's give it a shot. And he starts right up. So he just started right up, first click. Loving that. Gotta see how he does on the hot start. Okay, here we are. This is post fuel injection, first start and install, but we pulled the engine out because we're putting a 204R transmission into Buddy, so he has an overdrive, which will be fun. So I had the engine out and I decided to get in here and change out the spark plugs and freshen those up while I was in here. And I cleaned off the engine, but I decided I'm not gonna paint the block because he's a survivor car with 100,000 original miles on him, and I'm just like, well, I don't want to do the Craigslist rebuild thing. But anyway, here is the Sniper EFI, and this is a newer 1980s BBD 2-barrel intake. There's a part number right there. And this is how I worked up the low car linkage to put on there for the 200R4, because you need to have that TV valve on there, and then the throttle valve. So the Sniper actually made that part of the conversion easier because I can just use the low car linkage and all the math is already worked out for me. So, but anyway, I was working on spark plugs here, and you can see the original casting flash in the spark plug holes, and I cut myself trying to get a spark plug wire off. So I got out my handy dandy Milwaukee angle grinder, which can get in there pretty easy, and I started knocking off all of that casting flash on these two before I replaced the plugs. So I was going to show you my process. These two are done. This one still needs to be done, and I'd say there's probably almost an 1/8 inch of flash, and it's pretty sharp. You can see the difference between the ones that I've already grinded out and the one I'm working on here. Now that's the old spark plug that I'm going to replace. Here's the other ones. So I don't really care about the spark plug, but I don't want to be getting any metal shards in there because that'd not be good for an engine. And hopefully see what I got going on here. Get that on there. And we have got much more clearance, and it's not sharp, so I don't hack my finger on it. Life is grand. I took the opportunity of having the engine out of here to unwrap all of the wiring in here and to kind of redo, pretty it up, and integrate the fuel injection stuff with it all. So I actually rewrapped with the loom tape that section there. There's my new 6-gauge for the alternator. And so I'm still sorting out wires back up through here. In my continuing efforts to integrate the fuel injection wiring, which is this, and then this little plug up here for the handheld for the Holley Sniper into the AMC harness, and kicking up the gauge of the battery feed to accommodate the 3 times the amperage of the alternator output. This went from being a 10 to a 6 gauge. Most of the electrical wiring rewrapped and redone and rerouted in the engine compartment in preparation for air conditioning. I'm going to start tearing apart the entire dash to put the components under the dash for the factory air. This happens to be the plate off of Sis, which is the other Hornet wagon over here. She's got air conditioning in her now, so that's a whole different deal though. But anyway, so I am going to tear apart the dash on this because I already have everything for underneath the dash there to put the air conditioning in. So I just have to do some disassembly, get stuff put back together. So this is what it looks like now. Notice I got no radio in there, and there's no air conditioning control up here, no vents. Because I can't ever concentrate on one thing and I gotta be sidetracked by everything, I bought this original AMC radio that I installed in Buddy here. Gee, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that, but and then he has an original speaker up here, and so he has his original AM radio in him. How wonderful. This is the heater setup. This has just the heater core and the defrost. There's no air conditioning. So there's some things that change with the weather eye here, where you get the air conditioning up here. The switch stays the same, but now with the air conditioning you have this same fan speed resistor set there, but you have the 2-box setup where the heater's over here and the air conditioning's over here, so I'm having to change that all out. So this was easier to get out as one piece than it is to get the other 2 pieces back in there. I didn't redo the electric system, I just unraveled everything and made it look nice, and I integrated the Sniper outputs plug into the wiring and rewrapped all of that. Got rid of wires that I didn't need. Nothing's on fire, so I'm gonna call that a win. Air conditioning under hood package got here from Auto AC Solutions. Got the hardware, the hoses they're gonna put in, got the condenser up here. It'll get hooked up to this evaporator here. It's a factory original. I'm running into a challenge. I mounted the sand-in compressor in there, and I'm looking at how tall those freaking lines are, and I'm like, there's no way that hood's gonna close. So I gotta find out if I can rotate and clock this compressor 90 degrees so the lines come out the side instead of out the top. Okay, so I started making my first hoses, putting on here, had to crimp this end to put it on. Got out my crimper, so I made up the hose that comes from the lower side up to the dryer. The dryer's being right here. So I've got that set up over here. Here's the hose, here's the end I got to crimp, here's the end that was crimped on. Here is the crimping tool, got the correct dies in there, so I'm going to show you how to do it. Bear in mind, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, so never know what's going to happen. I'm not a professional HVAC guy. Just get on the internet and find the tools and go for it. So this pen's got to go through here, like that, and you start tightening this down. Trying to get that centered in there nice. I'm also paying attention to the clocking and the twist this way and that way so that it doesn't change on me, so that the hose will go on there easier. Now I just got to crank it down until there's a little line here that's the finish line that you got to crank down until you get it there, and then you inspect your crimp at that point and make sure that it looks good. If you got to go further, you got to go a little further. Still not quite there yet. Cranking on it a little bit more. I've got it right at that finish line. Gonna back off. See what's going on. Oh, not quite enough. Thread this, loosen that up. Except with this tool, I've discovered you got to have it loose enough, because this doesn't want to lift up all the way until you do this to replace the die. But anyway, here's your crimped on end, pretty solidly crimped on there. There's also a little black dot that I always put a pick in to make sure the hose is all the way up there before I do it. So all I got to do is just clean up these ends, put the O-rings on, and put it in the car.
With this snazzy thing.
With the Holley Sniper, you just turn the key on, the fuel pump runs, this thing boots up, and it'll come up and it'll get ready. And this is its initial start. It's showing me how many volts, what the coolant temperature is. There isn't nothing going on with the air fuel right now. It's a little mad that the battery's low, but
what does that want the battery to be at?
My throttle, I don't know.
Apparently
I think it's
above 12.4 because now it's not flickering.
Yeah, but it's been sitting a while, so the throttle position sensor's at 0.
So right now, if you stomp on it, does the throttle, the TPS move?
Yeah.
Oh, that's snazzy.
And the IAC is changing the idle air control valve, but now it's ready, so start it up.
Fires right up.
And it's still doing some air fuel adjustment. I think this is my custom dash that I set up to look at it.
But this will automatically adjust to a certain point, right?
Yeah, the fuel map, it has the ability to adjust. Nothing else adjusts automatically. Go home, and I go to tuning, and I go to basic. I haven't done anything wild with it. I do the basic fuel, and then the target air fuel ratio. I did fiddle with these. I leaned them out a little bit. So its target air fuel ratio at idle is 14.0. 14.7 is theoretically perfect. Target air fuel ratio at cruise, I got that leaned out a little at 14.4. And like I said, I'm just starting out, and the target air fuel ratio is 12.9. That's just more from engine masters and knowing on the dynos where they want to have it when they've got it at wide open throttle.
Nitrous and boost? When are we putting the turbo on?
Yeah, we don't have that stuff. We need air conditioning, dang it.
Oh yeah, we got air conditioning now. It's at 80 right now. It's already dropping it. It's already down to 75. What has happened to this car in like the last 6 weeks?
Yeah, since the beginning of June, the end of May.
Maybe what would be easier to ask is what has not happened to this car.
Yeah, well, he got air conditioning put back in him. This is a new condenser that we put in. And then he has his air dryer with his binary switch. The new compressor, which is a Sandin, because I went with R134.
That's snazzy looking.
And then got the air conditioning lines in there using the factory holes, because he had factory air conditioning on the inside. He's got the air conditioning vents in the lower dash, upper dash, and the air conditioning control knob on the dash there.
Look at that, snazzy. This is how we verify that it works.
Yeah, and actually we'll turn that on when we're running it.
Okay, then what else? We did fuel injection.
The Holley
Sniper.
Sniper fuel injection.
It's hiding. but
That's
you can
hiding
see
under
it.
there.
So there we go. There's our rundown of stuff that we did, and now we're gonna go do burnouts. Are we gonna do burnouts?
Right.
We're not gonna do burnouts. We're gonna go test drive it though,
Buddy doesn't.
and test out the AC.
Buddy doesn't do burnouts.
How much horsepower does this thing have?
110.
Holy smokes!
If-
AC works, it shifts. Dad's gonna continue to mess with that until he's dead. We're at like TV cable adjustment number 93. The rear end gears feel fine. I don't think we have to change anything with that. And the brakes work, so that's good. And then our rattle, it was just the shifter linkage stuff, but we're not worried about that. So there we go. There's all of our things that we did.